Hey, welcome back to Beyond Headwaters. I'm Dave.
I'm Dan.
Hey, Dan, it has been hot and it has not rained.
And dry. Hot and dry.
Dry. I know for some parts of the country, we've had the opposite, lots of rain. And we feel and pray for all those families affected by these storms, these tornadoes, the flooding. In this part of the country, here in Florida, dry. All our lake water levels are really low. So obviously that presents a challenge for fishing. So Captain Dan's going to share today some tactics and some of the things he does to find fish. And he takes clients out often, and he's got to deal with whatever conditions come to his way that day. So with that said, pass it over to Captain Dan.
Okay, so I'm mainly going to base around what I'm talking about around Headwaters and Lake Garcias. My recent trip was on Garcias, my most recent trip, because Headwaters Lake was closed. So I decided to go to Garcia. And
I'm sorry, for those of you who are new to the channel, the lakes we're referring to are in the central east coast of Florida. This is where Captain Dan charters. So we're talking, these are the headwaters, if you will, of the St. John River. So those are the places that he takes his clients.
So just to get a reference, if you look on a map, Lake Garcia is west of Vero Beach. Okay. And in Headwaters, actually, Garcia's, one of the canals that comes out of Lake Garcia actually borders a large portion of Headwaters Lake. So they're neighbors. Water can be pumped from one way or the other, from one lake to the other if necessary. So in both of those lakes, what's similar is they're both reservoirs. They were both farmland prior to being a lake, and they also have deep water. And that's going to be my focus, really what we're talking about today. Now, I'm not saying I only fish deep water when we have low water conditions, because a couple days ago I was fishing some shallow stuff and the water was about that deep, and we were catching them on top water first thing in the morning. So these dry conditions, these low water conditions, typically come in the summertime or just before the summer in this state. So we're thinking also, how hot is it? So it's been super hot, so getting an early start is key. Being at the boat ramp before daylight so you can launch your boat and be waiting for safe light to run around is one of my #1 priorities. So I start that. I typically start every day with topwater. The topwater bite's been really good, and typically is in the summertime, but it's usually within the first hour to hour and a half is going to be your best topwater time. Then I start to transition and move to deeper water, especially if the water's so low it makes it hard to get around the lake, which was the case with Lake Garcia. There are some areas that I had to run on the trolling motor. I couldn't even idle through. The water was so shallow, stirring up mud and bottom and all that. So what I did is I decided I'm going to go look for deeper water. Same way in Headwaters. That's where I've been catching the majority of the fish lately. What I look for in that deeper water are drop-offs. I kind of prefer, every deep hole has got an edge to it. I prefer something, if I can find some bottom contours out off of the edge, stuff that's not visible to the eye with emergent vegetation. That's what I like. I look for them on my bottom machine and see, these areas, these lakes I've been on for so many years now. I know where the places are. So just kind of apply that to your local lakes. But I like to get out away from the edges, the shoreline, and start to really kind of explore those deeper drop-offs. Because a lot of times when those fish move, like for instance, Garcias and Headwaters Lake are almost 2 feet low. I know Garcias is 2 feet low.
At least.
Headwaters Lake, I'm going to say, is probably 20 inches lower than what it normally is. So some of the areas where you could catch them a few months ago, there's only 6 inches of water in it, maybe. So a lot of those areas, it eliminates a lot of the water we have to explore to find fish. So I tend to just gravitate more toward the deep water or just adjacent to it.
Okay. Now, does it impact the type of lure you use?
To some extent. Recently, some of the fish we've been catching over the little bit deeper water, I've just caught them on top water, but typically it's going to be either a diving bait, like a crankbait, or a say a lipless crankbait.
Do you want to get deep?
I want to
quick?
get down deeper, closer to the bottom. Say if I've got a 10-foot hump, and those fish seem to be positioning over, say 5 foot over that hump. I need something that gets down about 4 or 5 feet deep. Also, those fish will actually be right down on the bottom, and I'll throw a lot of worms. You know, a Texas rig worm does really, really well in the summertime. If it's really getting on into the day and getting really hot, a drop shot, even though it's Florida, can be very, very effective.
Yep. I was recently on a guide trip. I took a gentleman out fishing and kayak guide, and we switched over to speed worm and put a little more weight on it, quarter ounce. Was dropping it down, and that got them, found a bite, and we caught a few after switching up. So thank you, Captain Dan, for that. I hope that helps you guys when you're faced with low water conditions, hot and low water conditions. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification button. Please give us a thumbs up. This is Dave and Dan, Captain Dan, and we're signing off, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you, and God bless you.
See you guys.